All right, so we're starting our second to last video, and what we're going to talk about on this video is the end of the process of Bible study. So far, what we've covered has really been the uh, nuts and bolts of how to study the Bible. Now we're going to turn to see what it looks like when that engine is running. So you've just learned how to build the engine. Now you're going to see it running and what it looks like to run properly. Because the goal of our interpretation is not solely to create a body of knowledge. Rather, what we want to do is for that knowledge to not just remain academic, but rather to flow out of our life. And where I'd like to go real quick is Psalm 119 again. One last time, we'll take a trip to the scriptures. And we will see Psalm 119, verses 33 and 34 say this: "Teach me, Lord, O Lord, the way of your statutes, and I will keep it to the end. Give me understanding that I may keep your law and observe it with my whole heart." So what does this say? That our knowledge, that our understanding should lead us to obedience of Jesus. You see, we're not solely trying to create a biblical understanding. We want to, when studying the Bible, we want to create a biblical worldview that impacts the way we live to obey Jesus. Because if there's only study, Scripture warns us, 1 Corinthians 8, it tells us that knowledge puffs up. That if all we do is accumulate knowledge for ourselves, we will become arrogant toward other people because they don't have that knowledge. And there's a similar danger in our society of wanting it quick. We want relevance. Give me practical insights for my marriage. Give me practical insights for my singleness. Give me practical insights for my job. And there's nothing wrong with that desire. However, those practical insights aren't going to be linked back to Scripture coming from a right motivation of obedience to Jesus. There's going to be just the same death. There's going to be just the same pride. What we need is both knowledge and intellect, or not knowledge and life, because our life flows from our heart that's informed from Scripture. And when we say heart, I want to clarify this. When I say heart, I'm not just referring to our desires. I'm referring to the inner man. The inner man includes our mind. So it's not to say that the mind and the heart are at odds. They should not be at odds. It's when you make them at odds that we do reach the disaster of the death that comes from either a life that's puffed up with knowledge or a life that's ignorant of what Scripture says. So how do you do this? This video is called Principlizing to Application. And principlizing, if you type that out in a Word document, will show up with a red line under it. I assure you, it is a word. It is not something I've made up. I've gotten it from several sources. It is when I learned this, it kind of revolutionized the way I approach Bible study, because I was having a hard time getting from the knowledge to the application. Like, how do I bridge this gap? And principlizing is how you bridge the gap. What you want to do when you're principlizing the passage of Scripture, the book of Scripture, or the topic of Scripture that you're studying, what you want to do is narrow it down to what is this teaching that impacts my life. This does not have to be practical. So, for example, if you're studying a passage on love, seeing Jesus' example of love, or seeing another example or something like that of love, that's the principle. That's not the application. So you take the principle of love and then apply it of how should I be loving? What desires in my heart need to change so that I can become loving? Because this starts from the inner man. The inside needs to be changed before the outside is changed. Jesus warned the Pharisees. He said that they were like tombs that were all decorated, but inside there was death. The outside of the bowl was clean, but the inside was dirty. It's not that Jesus was saying that we need clean insides and dirty outsides. He was saying both need to be clean. Both need to be living. So when you look at this, the principle informs our hearts, informs our minds, and that changes our living. And you take that principle, like I said, you want to narrow it down to a few words. Some of like if you're studying 1 Corinthians 13, the principle you're probably going to be learning is love. Maybe you're learning how love works or something like that. Or narrow it down to a few phrases or a single sentence. You want to keep this short. Your interpretation might be long, how you're explaining it, but you want to narrow it down just so you can say, like, not to say that this is the only principle that this teaches, but to focus on just that single principle. So finally, taking that into application, we want to think and meditate on that again. How does that change my heart? What desires in my life do I need to ask the Lord to change? And what changes do I need to make on the outside? So when, if it's, again, love, maybe there's someone in your house that is really bugging you right now, and your heart desires need to change toward them. So you pray for that, but you also pray, how can I bless this person? How can I love this person? And then put it into practice. So just to summarize, the goal of our interpretation is life. We want to live out Scripture. We want to obey Jesus. And we take that, and how we do that is we take Scripture, interpret it, narrow it down to a principle, and then apply it. All right. Until next time, God bless.